Good evening, everyone. My name is Edith Ramirez. I am the Assistant City Manager for Development Services, and I will let the rest of the team introduce themselves. Michelle?
Good evening, everybody. Michelle Bigelow, City Clerk, Interim Communications Director. Chris?
Chris Gioni, Public Services Director. Matt
Mayhood, Economic Development Director.
Thank you. And for those joining us today, thank you for Zooming with us. And those watching at home or on Facebook, thank you for engaging. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide you with an update on where we're at with the downtown lane reduction and beautification project. So we will get started. I will start sharing my screen and just run through the presentation. Okay. Okay, so the idea is that we would start this meeting as people are logging in with a question of what is your vision for downtown? So it could be anything. And Michelle, why don't we just go through the exercise? I guess I have to stop sharing my screen and invite the guests that are joining us today.
Yes, so I just brought up some instructions. And if you would like to participate in sharing what your vision for downtown is, you're going to text the phone number 22333. And in the message, you're going to type City of Morgan 492. And then you can also see that there's a web address and a code to enter. And I'll leave that up for just 1 second so you can take that down. And then we will move over so that you can start putting your responses in. And Edith, I say we'll just give it a couple minutes and see if we get any responses, and either way we can move on.
So as part of the exercise, I was testing, so that was me. Full disclosure, that was me. So the idea is that if we had a bigger audience, then we can see what people are thinking. So for those of you that are attending, Joe and William, you're welcome to text and participate in this poll. And
Edith, we can take it down too, and folks can be thinking about if they want to respond. It'll be up for a little while. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing so you can continue.
Okay.
And that second response was me, because I want to make sure things work too. So.
I had a guess.
Okay, so back to sharing the presentation. Here we go. So we have a number of visioning documents for downtown that provide us guidance as to how downtown should continue to develop. And one of the latest documents that we as a city and as a community put together is the Downtown Station Area Master Plan. And it looked at a number of things from the parking supply, the walkability, the infrastructure. And this slide essentially shows a concept of Monterey Road having this downtown flexible boulevard kind of space. And the idea is that you have a sidewalk in areas, you have parking, and then next to that, a buffered or protected bike lane, and then the travel lane with the median in the middle. Alternatively, if you kind of continue through the spectrum, you could have the travel lane, the buffered bike lane, and a parklet instead of the parking space. So that is the flexible space that the Downtown Station Master Plan identified. So the project that we are providing an update for is the Downtown Lane Reduction and Beautification Project. The City Council approved and provided direction for staff to begin the design work for a project that improves accessibility, increases safety, creates additional space for community members and businesses. Additionally, the project is supposed to have a place branding beautification component that creates a barrier between the bike lane or the people lane with the use of trees and planters and other elements to support beautification and consistency through the downtown. We can accomplish this project by having some guiding principles that we shared with the council, a project that protects pedestrians and cyclists, creates community space, also supports the businesses that are trying to get their feet back solid on the ground, that it provides for emergency response time, that somehow, even with a lane reduction, we need to look at how to minimize traffic congestion and create opportunity for diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout the district. Find ways to close the gaps where we don't have retail and there's this dead zones in the main district. And then even if we are creating parklets and community space, how do we retain as much parking as possible? And we can do this through a number of efforts, including creating a multimodal lane, open available parklets, dedicated parklets, looking at the way that we implement the project with mountable features so that our emergency vehicles can get through in case of an emergency. We can minimize congestion by looking at our signals and figuring out how we can maximize the traffic flow through the signal network. We can create open parklets that are not attached to a business to ensure that this parklet space or pop-up parks, if you will, can create space for community. And again, those parklets could also be what closes the fabric, what stitches the fabric together when we have the gaps. And again, maintain parking spaces where parklets are not needed. And before I go on to the next slide, Michelle wanted to share with you, got a text message, unable to get on the link. Message says host has another meeting in progress. I just wanted to alert you to that.
Thank you. I just got a text too and was investigating as you were going.
Very good. So on the project scope and timeline, the council gave us the direction to proceed with the project design on May 19 of this year. Staff over the summer has been developing designs with consultants that have been working alongside our team. And along the way, we started our community engagement, not only through the city's website and our social media channels, but we also put together a working group that is dedicated to work alongside with us as we go through the project mechanics and details. Additionally, we put together a downtown pizza night for our downtown residents and businesses and community that came to join us. We had a great attendance at that meeting. And tonight we're having this meeting. We will also have an open house. All of this to get us to a set of recommendations that will go to council in December. The working group that is working hand in hand with us is a group of almost 30 residents, business owners, and property owners. They come from different perspectives, very diverse opinions in the group, but we are having a very healthy conversation. The group wants to talk, and we want them to help us discuss a number of issues associated with the downtown. But in addition to all the things that they want to talk about, we need to make sure that we focus on developing recommendations for both the lane reduction and the place branding project. And what we have is, so far in the conversations that we've had with the working group, we've looked at what has been our findings on a block by block basis, who is who has either a need or a desire for parking, who wants short-term parking near their business. And with that learning and that understanding, then we had a healthy conversation about parklets, the policy around parklets, and the policy of the what we call the al fresco, which is a temporary parklet activation. And after that dialogue, then we had AP&I design architects provide us some design concepts that could get to the beautification piece of the project. Their initial designs use bollards as one of the elements to create that protective barrier between the bike lane or parklet. And it doesn't have to be a bollard, but right now that is one of the designs that they're proposing. These bollards could be removable and could accommodate parades and festivals if we want to have more flexibility throughout the downtown. The design can accommodate lane reduction as well as a dedicated bike lane and loading and parking flexibility. So what I'm going to show you now is some designs. This is again high level just to show you what we're thinking or some of the conceptual stuff. What you see here is again the use of bollards as a way to protect the bike lane. And you see this colorful bike lane that is between either parking or a parklet space. And this is another concept of just using a different type of bollard mechanism, but again, providing flexibility for both the integration of parklets and retaining parking or loading zones as needed. Now, they did start packaging 3 different concepts. So once we start getting into the parklets and designing parklets, there is the concept, one of the ideas is how do we create consistency throughout the district? And what should be the theme, if you will? So one of the concepts is a historical concept. And you can see the features that they are using with the concrete planters and this more historical bollards that they're using and a certain type of palette of plantings. Alternatively, we can go with the industrial concept of what we see on Depot Street, using more metal or corrugated metal, more of that other type of concrete features and different plantings. Or we can go with an agricultural approach, and this is using more wood, and again, using different kinds of plantings to create that theme throughout the district. So at this point, that's where we're at with our learning and the conversation. Our next working group meeting is this Friday, and then we are turning the chapter to talk about more about the mechanics of the lane reduction and what are the implications to traffic and what could be the potential mitigations of the project. So I will pause right here and ask if I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I will ask if our guests have any questions.
And if you have questions, you can type them in the Q&A box. And Edith, as people are thinking about their questions, there was an issue with the meeting ID in the 411. So I just sent out an email blast to the community with the updated link and shared it on social media. We've got a couple more people that have joined, but I do apologize. I'm not sure what the issue was.
Very good. So if you have a question or a comment, you are welcome to raise your hand and we will call on you. Michelle, I see Joe Baranowski.
Good evening. Thank you for hosting the meeting. And just so you know, I wasn't able to participate. I would have. I'm in a multitasking mode right now. So it was a little hard to text. I had a question for Chris, I think. I'm wondering, obviously, no matter how much care is taken, nobody's going to be able to predict exactly how the traffic circulation is going to be impacted. And I'm also assuming that the city is going to be quite anxious to prove that it's working. So are plans being developed to how traffic circulation will be measured and monitored, where that will happen, what street segments, what intersections, how the data will be collected, how the data will be shared? And will that plan, do you anticipate being able to release that plan for public review and comment prior to whenever December or whatever, before this goes to council? That'd be my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I think that's a great comment and a good thought, and something we've been talking about too. And I know you have a lot of shared thoughts on many traffic studies. What we've been doing just recently on Monterey is, doing just straight counts with our police department. I think we can do something similar to that, like a before and after the program starts, so we can count the numbers of traffic. If you, and I think you know this, and Edith knows this, but when we did the pilot, we had other measurement tools besides just the traffic counts and the delays. But yeah, I think it would be fair to put that together and have those outcomes and measurements set before the council meeting. I think that's definitely fair and something we have been discussing.
Joe, I hope you're done multitasking so you can have fun with our next word clouds that we're going to be doing. Any other questions, Joe?
I don't know if I'm still live. Am I?
You are.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Chris, thank you for that answer. Yeah, I would, I'm hoping that when we see that there are ways that it'd be possible to, get a handle of what might be happening, not just on Monterey proper, but in the surrounding areas that might be impacted before, before it gets to the point where you're just relying on people to say, we have a problem here, which hopefully doesn't happen. So I look forward to, potentially giving feedback on that and seeing what you end up with thinking about that. Thank you for acknowledging that. I have other questions, but I'm hoping that other people will participate. And I think many of my questions are probably a little bit, maybe they'll come out of what we're going to hear a little bit farther down the road. So that would be it for tonight. Thank you, though.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And we'll have other opportunities to ask questions this evening. So pausing on the presentation right now on where we're at with the project. Anybody else has any comments or questions? I see we have some of our working group members. Thank you for joining us and making time to participate on a project that you know very well and you're fully updated. But we appreciate that you're joining us tonight. So again, any other questions before we move on to finishing up the presentation? Go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to suggest that maybe now, since people are joining, do we want to take a minute and go back to the vision question?
Sure.
I can share that really quickly and maybe get a little feedback from the group here. I'm going to share my screen. We have a couple test words up to make sure it was working of what your vision of downtown is. So if you text the number 22333 and your message will be City of Morgan 492, you can see that at the top of the screen, and you can put in what your vision is of Morgan Hill. And we'll leave this up for a few minutes and we can bring it back, but it's open. So even if I stop sharing, you'll still be able to put your vision in there for us.
So on the phone, you type 22333, like if that was the person.
Yep.
And then in the message box, you type City of Morgan 492.
Yeah, it's funny how they they give the instructions, because I always want to put text City of Morgan in the text box, but
Yeah.
yeah. And I'll leave that up in the background, Edith, and stop sharing, and you can continue with the presentation. I know you have a lot of good information to share.
And once you text that, it'll send you back a message that you're participating in the poll, and then you can put your word in, or words, whatever you want to do.
Very good. Full disclosure, right now, Matt and I are the only ones that have. And I think that for the rest of the presentation, Michelle, everything else that we have is interactive. So maybe people don't want to, necessarily text. And if they want to have more of a conversation, we can figure out how. It's a very small group, Michelle. So I think that it'd be pretty easy for us to have a conversation if that is needed. We can pivot, right? Instead of the word cloud. I'll share my screen one more time. I think it's this one. Now I have two screens. I hope it's the right one. Okay, so we just went through this designs, right? We finished the conceptual designs by APNI. That's where we're at. And now the next, as I was mentioning, the next part of the conversation is to understand the lane reduction and the traffic implications and mitigations. So we don't really have much more technical information to share. I had already mentioned that we're looking to finalize the work and come back to council in December. In the meantime, we wanted to ask your thoughts and opinions. We had this exercise with a downtown pizza night, and it was a very healthy conversation. We asked the community, what do they like best about downtown? What is working? What do they like least about downtown, or what is not working? And then what do they see as the major opportunities we have in front of us? So with that, I will invite the group that is joining us today to share their thoughts on what is working, what is not working, and what do they see? What do you see as the opportunities for our downtown? Invite you to raise your hand or put it in on the chat.
So we don't have the chat open, but you can put it in the Q&A.
Thank you.
And if you would like to put it in the word cloud, you can use that same number you were using and text your response in, and it'll come up, and I can share that with the group at some point.
Okay. So without much more from us, I think that we want to then just create this space and this opportunity to ask, again, to make ourselves available for any questions you may have. Otherwise, I think that we are done with the presentation. We invite you to go to the city's page, the project page, to see any of the materials that we have developed. The working group receives a memo, a short memo about where we're at, and you're welcome to see all of those documents and any of the designs from APNI. Joe.
So I'll take the opportunity just to ask one more question. I apologize. I haven't actually had a chance, and I'm on a mobile device, so the preliminary designs that you're showing are kind of hard to tell. I've heard some comments on social media, I think, and maybe even tonight. So it's the concept here that if this were to go forward and be implemented, that it's something that, at least at the beginning, would not necessarily be a permanent restrictions in terms of the lane reduction, that there's ways that it could be modified. Is that true or not? Can you just maybe describe that part of the preliminary models? If it's completely obvious upon looking at the drawings, I can certainly do that. But if you have any comments on that, it'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Joe. There's two answers to that. First and foremost, the council has approved and given us direction on a project that includes and has a lane reduction and a beautification project. And that is the project that we're solving for. And that is a project that we're coming back to the city council with very design specific solutions for the project. One of the things that we've been trying to convey to the working group is that there's so much more than just the lane reduction. While people are coming, many of our working group members may have come to the table with a lot of concerns about the lane reduction. We want to make sure that we're engaged on all the components because there are pieces of the project that could be phased out, could be integrated at a different stage. Like the parklets are here, right? We have them already. We have a parklet program. How are we going to create future consistency across those parklets? And that is part of the work that we have. Chris, you want to add?
I just wanted to provide clarity. So we've shared some with some of the working groups, some of the beautification type designs, but we haven't shared the actual lane reduction plan yet, Joe. So that will probably be we definitely will show it at our next town hall meeting, but it's not yet available for you to review in detail. That's probably going to be in the next week or so. So we don't have that out yet, but I think Edith covered the actual logistics of what we're doing.
Any other questions from the folks in the audience?
We have a typed question, Edith. El Toro building looks like a mess. What is the city doing to open it up again?
That's El Toro Brew Pub.
I'm guessing so, yeah.
Yeah, we are working, we're trying to connect the property owner with tenant interest that we have come across and trying to see. I think that the property owner is weighing different alternatives of what he's going to do. I think it's a balance that he's trying to figure out if he's going to do a project on the site or if he's going to just tenant the building. And, other than putting tenants in front of him, the city doesn't have a whole lot of ability to do much with the property. If there was graffiti or something that we could focus on, we're happy to.
And then that's the only question, but I just wanted to share for those that may not be looking at the Q&A, we've gotten a few things that are working and not working. So what's working is community support engaged. What's also working is new businesses opening. And what's not working is noise and excessive speed. And Marby, we're up to 14 attendees. Since I can't type it because there's not a question to respond to. And if you'd like to ask any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and we will unmute you, or you can type them in the Q&A.
So if we don't have any questions, I'm thinking that, let's see if I can share my screen again. This is just to confirm, articulate that we have heard loud and clear from the community that the biggest concern they have about the project is the traffic, the potential added traffic congestion that the project might create with a lane reduction. So with that, from the city side, we wanted to ask you to help us think through what do you think the city needs to do to ensure that the downtown lane reduction and beautification project work well, and for you to feel good about it enough to support the project. So the question is, what do you think the city needs to do to ensure that the project works well and that it's going to work well enough for you to be able to feel good about the project and support it? So that is a question we have been focused on trying to solve that. I'll open it up for questions, but before I do, I want to show one more slide, and that is, if you are interested in joining us for a cup of coffee this Saturday, we're going to be out there anyway for the farmers market, so we would be happy to host a cup of coffee for you and then do a walkthrough downtown. So at 8:30 in the morning at the 3rd Street Plaza, we'll have coffee, and then at 9 a.m. we'll do a small walking tour through downtown. That's for a Saturday morning during farmers market. If you want to see downtown in the evening when the restaurants are busy, then join us on Wednesday next week, October 13 at 6:30 p.m. and we'll meet at La Playa Ice Cream and have some ice cream. So come already fed, eat your dinner, then join us for some ice cream. We'll meet at 6:30 for some ice cream. And then at 7, we'll do an evening walking tour from 7 to 8. And then we are looking to bring forward the conversation about the lane reduction design, as well as the traffic implications and mitigations, to a town hall Zoom conversation on Thursday, November 4th at 5:30 p.m. So probably Joe and everybody else that is mostly interested in the traffic conversation, November 4th is when we'll be able to share some thoughts and ideas with you. So with that, the last question for you tonight, if you are so interested, tell us, what do you think we, the city staff, need to do with the project design to ensure that you can feel good about the project and can support it? And again, type it in or raise your hand.
And Edith, while people are working on that, we have a few more comments. So what's not working? Potential for traffic to end up in surrounding residential neighborhoods. An opportunity is expanding the footprint, transportation, and mobility options. And then we have 2 questions. So I'll start with the first one. I thought we would be voting on this. Is it a done deal already?
And then we have a couple more, and then we're happy. So on that question, I thought we would be voting on this. Is it a done deal? No, we're not. This meeting is not intended to vote on the project, but to provide an update on where the project is at. The council has voted on the project on May 19th and has provided us direction to design a project that includes a lane reduction and a beautification project. And we're scheduled to come back to the council with the designs in December.
And then the next question, what does the city need to do? Figure out where all the excess traffic will go. Butterfield has traffic already and also has residential, which causes safety concerns. Hale extension is not complete and can't expect to pick up all the traffic.
Okay, so that's a comment. Thank you, Marby. And Jim Sergi, I see his comment, kill it now and save a few dollars. Thank you, Jim. And hello. Okay. Any other thoughts and comments as to what you think we need to look at and solve for so that the project gets to a place where you think it can work? if there is no more comments or questions, join us on Saturday or on Wednesday for the walking tour. I see a comment from Robert Evans. You also are adding multiple housing units on Monterey Road. Okay. Team Matt, Chris, Hillary, Michelle, anything else you want to add?
Nothing from me.
Nothing for me except thanks everybody who provided comments. They were good feedback.
And I just want to say thank you for taking the time to join us. We do really appreciate it, and we will keep plugging along. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.